Hello, my name is Calvin from Defund the BBC. I would like to introduce my guest today, award-winning Scottish comedian and writer, Leo Kearse. Leo, how are you doing, mate?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm not too bad at all.
Cool.
We've had a lot to talk about this week because of the news that's come out. But before we do, I just want to clear something up because you're described as a right-wing comedian. How do you self-identify?
I identify as a right-wing comedian, so I normally vote Conservative. Basically, I believe in less tax and smaller government. People get the wrong idea about right-wing people. They think we want to build concentration camps and be racist, and that's maybe that was true 50 years ago, but now we've changed a bit. Even though people call us Nazis, I think if Hitler came back tomorrow, he'd be pretty disappointed with the actual level of Nazism amongst the people called Nazis these days.
Oh,
Um, so yeah, just I believe in smaller government. I believe in less tax, less government interference in people's lives. That's it. And also comedians, even though we're overwhelmingly the comedy community, like the arts community, public sector, tech, and academia is overwhelmingly woke, liberal, left wing. But in reality, comedians are all self-starting Thatcherite entrepreneurs going out and hustling for work in a free market. They're the most right-wing people you can get. And the pay structure on comedy nights is really unequal. Like the headliner gets £500, the middle spot gets £50. I've never seen one of these virtuous left-wing headliners demanding that his pay is equally distributed amongst all the workers. Socialism's always for someone else with these people.
I love that. It's so true, isn't it? The hypocrisy is always there on the left.
Yeah, well, you never see a left-wing person who's genuinely left-wing. You know what I mean? Even like Mark Steele, he's a really left-wing comedian. He writes for The Guardian and stuff. So you'd think he'd be against nepotism, but he got his son signed to. His son started doing comedy when he was a teenager. He's a really nice guy, Elliot Steele. He's a mate of mine, but got him signed to his agency when he was a teenager, and obviously that's a leg up that anybody else wouldn't have. So that's pure nepotism. So I don't know why these left wing comedians can't just come out and just be like, all right, fine, I'm right wing, just admit it.
Well, why is that, do you think? Why can't they come out and admit where they stand?
I think because there's a couple of reasons that comedians are ostensibly socialist and left wing. One of them is because they're poor. So they think that sharing other people's money is a good idea. And the other reason is the most important thing in comedy isn't to be funny, it's to be likable, because you can't laugh at somebody you don't like. So sort of saying, oh, we should help these people, we should, share the wealth, that's a shortcut to appearing likable. Whereas if you come out and you say, well, immigration has to have sensible limits and, we can't just spend all taxpayers' money. It's not limitless. So, we can't have that many dialysis units at the hospital. That sounds horrible, but it's the actual pragmatic, realpolitik truth.
Spot on, absolutely. So let's talk about the news that came out this week, because looking at the research, I think it was 75% of BBC comedy slots went to left-wing comedians. Does that mean that they haven't been calling you recently? How does it work for you?
Yeah, I don't really do any. I do some stuff for BBC Scotland, but I haven't really done anything for proper BBC. So I was surprised to hear it was as low as 75%. Watching BBC comedy, I can't remember, apart from Jeff Norcott, I can't remember seeing anybody who's openly right wing or even centrist. And people are assuming that because it's 75% left wing comedy, 75% of the slots on the BBC went to left-wing comedians, that means that 25% of the slots went to right-wing comedians. They didn't. 24% of the slots went to comedians with no overt political bias, and 1% of the slots went to right-wing comedians. Well, basically went to Jeff Norcott, is what we're trying to say.
Yeah. Which is just outstanding, isn't it? It's shocking.
Yeah, it's insane bias. That's just off the scale. Like 1% went to right-wing comedians, and like Jeff shows how difficult it is. Jeff is like one of the funniest comedians in the country. If he was left-wing, if he was like Nish Kumar, he'd be pumped out on everything. He'd be boosted, and I feel like they get him on as a sort of right-washing exercise. They feel like they booked Jeff Norcott for a slot this month. That's it, done. Jeff, I mean, Jeff's doing really well, but I mean, he's one of the country's top comedians. He should be, really getting pushed by the BBC.
I do find it fascinating that an organization obsessed with diversity has no true diversity of talent. Have you seen that? Is this a recent change, or has this been happening for a long time at the BBC?
No, I think it's been long term, and it's crept into a lot of our institutions and a lot of our areas of industry as well. Mainly through the HR department, through equalities and diversity and representation, all those kind of things that sound good in practice. But I mean, like you said, we know that there's never going to be an equalities and diversity rep who's trying to get more representation for Leave voters, for example. It's always a certain. They're trying to get representation and equality for certain sections, but there's other sections that it's still absolutely acceptable to openly discriminate against. And Leave voters is one. I'd say the white working class. We've seen that in certain areas. Those people getting discriminated against and not listened to. But I think the problems with the BBC, they go back. They go back decades, and I mean it's really systemic. The wokeness in the BBC is systemic. And even I've got woke lefty friends who are in the BBC who are terrified because there's this culture of sort of woke liberal witch hunts going on at the moment. So if you're insufficiently woke, if you have insufficiently correct opinions, you can be cancelled from projects, you can be no platformed and not offered work. And I mean, it's a very hard thing it's not like you're strung up in a lamppost with piano wire. It's an invisible thing. You can be just slowly filtered out. It's not always an overt thing. But I've had friends cancelled from film projects. One of them was cancelled for she tweeted that she thought looting was bad. That's looting stealing stuff, not looting the town. They're both bad. But yeah, so she tweeted that, and it was seen as an attack on Black Lives Matter, and so she was cancelled from a film project for something that was completely unrelated to the project.
But also, that's a pretty fair statement to be against looting. It's a criminal act.
Yeah, you'd think so.
So why do you think this is? Why is this such a left-leaning slant? Is this what the audiences want, or what's the reasoning behind it?
I don't think it's what the audiences want, because viewing figures for BBC comedy are terrible. They're absolutely tanking. I mean, viewing figures for Live at the Apollo are down 95% since its heyday, possibly more. That's that was last year, so maybe it's even more now. I don't think they're giving people what they want, and I see a lot on TV comedy, not just the BBC, but on ITV and stuff as well. When they're talking about diversity, they don't get because they're ticking a box. They don't get the best people. I mean, there's amazing comedians like my mate Nico, one of the best comedians in the country, and he's tearing his hair out. What little hair he's got left, because he can't get a slot on TV. And then you turn on the TV and you see a 22-year-old who's been going 6 months doing terrible hack comedy that nobody's switching over to watch. There's nothing like Nico does really incisive social political stuff. He's Bajan, so he's got a unique perspective, he's got a unique voice, but they look at him and they're like, nah, he's or they don't look at him, they think he's too old or whatever, and so they get the 21-year-old who can't actually do comedy. Honestly, if the comedy industry made ships or something like that, the ships would be made out of dog shit, and as soon as people got on them, they'd burst into flames and just sink immediately. That's why everybody's gravitating from the BBC, from television comedy, and just gravitating to YouTube. Everybody watches comedy on YouTube now. I'd rather have a video go viral on YouTube than get a slot in the BBC, to be honest. I mean, it might be less upfront money, but it's going to be seen by more people, and it's for the future is going to have more impact. The BBC won't exist in 5 years' time.
Bloody hell, that's a bold statement, but I also like the analogy you used there as well. We've mentioned diversity a few times, and obviously the BBC has a massive push for diversity. They're spending £100 million a year on diversity.
Yeah.
Is there a way that they could kind of build into the process to make sure they have diversity of thought and opinion, or diversity of views in terms of the comedic talents that they employ?
I mean, I think when companies look at diversity, so you see Sainsbury's trying to go for the show the diversity flag and, make a fuss about that. But then you look at their senior management board, which was all white until July of this year when they appointed one token non-white person as a sort of, just a sort of, it was part of the marketing, you know what I mean? So these companies and these organizations like the BBC that are trying to do diversity, what they should do is hire more non-white people, more diverse voices into the boardroom, because then when you've got non-white people in the boardroom, they won't be trying to virtue signal. They'll be making decisions. They won't worry about being judged. They'll make the decisions. They'll be like, okay, we're going to find the best comedian. We're going to put that person on, and then Nico will get a shot on the BBC. Instead of being sidelined for a 21-year-old. It's ridiculous. They're really all this performative, just visible diversity doesn't really count for much. They really need to make diversity in the boardroom.
I like that approach, actually. So it would become more of a meritocracy rather than performative, as you say. So we've seen a lot of complaints about the BBC giving the SNP essentially a daily party political broadcast. What are your views on this? Because I imagine you've got quite a few. Yeah.
Well, the SNP is another organisation that seems to be held up as a paragon of virtue, even though they're basically the Scottish version of the BNP. You know what I mean? You've got like Scottish nationalists at the border screaming at English cars coming over the border, screaming at them to go home, stopping the cars and screaming at them to go home. I mean, if Tommy Robinson did that at Dover, you'd expect him to be, chastised and severely, given a dressing down by Boris Johnson. Nicola Sturgeon took 48 hours to even say she thought it was bad. You know what I mean? These are the sort of attitudes that are endemic and are encouraged by the SNP. And I think the SNP's handling of the coronavirus outbreak, its stranglehold on industry, hospitality and entertainment have all but stopped in Scotland. The SNP are taking a very authoritarian stance. They're bringing through new hate crime legislation. And people seem to be just sleepwalking into it, thinking that the SNP are some sort of beneficent socialist, mild socialist government, and they're not. They're very authoritarian, and that kind of power needs to be given checks and balances. And the fourth estate should be, doing that instead of just giving them a platform. So, I mean, fair enough, give the SNP a platform, but give me a platform to criticise the SNP. They need to be subject to scrutiny and they need to be subject to criticism.
I'm 100% with you on that. I'm not a fan of no platform, and give them the platform, but let's challenge them on it, and let's not just publicize what they want to say. Because I think the public are feeling less and less like their views and their perceptions are represented by what's supposed to be a state broadcaster. People are turning off in their droves and switching to alternatives, as you mentioned, YouTube being one of them. Surely the BBC is losing the justification to demand the license fee if they don't represent.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't represent the people, and if only 1% of BBC comedy is right wing, that means considering we've got a conservative government. I mean, I say conservative; they're not really that conservative. They're pretty socialist at the moment. But that means swathes of voters, swathes of people aren't being represented. Which is completely against their remit as a public service broadcaster. And also, people aren't it's not the 80s anymore. It's not like the BBC is the only broadcaster in town. Now we've got as well as ITV and Channel 4 and Channel 5, we've got Netflix, Amazon, Disney. We've got YouTube. There's all these other sources for people's entertainment and for people's televisual fun. So people are watching them instead, and you can't really justify charging. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of money as well. It's like 175 pounds. Is that how much the license fee is? Yeah. And they're charging it to, they've changed it so they're charging it to over 75s as well. I mean, how can you really justify that? Imagine if you're forced to have, a Netflix account or something. People would be like, well, that's ridiculous. But that's the situation we're in. And it's not even providing something that's of measurable public benefit. And also when you've got this, this institution where people have huge power, that's when you get this corruption and this exploitation that we've seen with Jimmy Savile. And I mean, I've seen it at other levels in comedy. I did a show with a gay comedian. This is going back years, but I did a show with him, and he was approached. He was preyed on by. Bear in mind, he's in his 20s and stuff. He was preyed on by a BBC comedy commissioner who strongly hinted that, oh, you should come to my hotel room to discuss this. You know what I mean? It's very Harvey Weinstein-esque. I mean, this is in the days before Me Too, so I was just like, yeah, go and do it. Go and suck his dick. Get us both on TV. I'll do it. I was barging him out of the way. Come on. But obviously, he didn't want his dick sucked by me because I'm too tall and hairy.
So inappropriate, Leo, but I love it. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on, and all the best.
Thanks, man. Cheers. Anytime.